Good.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to kind of, I'll say, take a deep breath and have a cathartic conversation on this side of Giving Tuesday. It's been a crazy couple months, really preparing for, being in the midst of, and then being just barely on the other side of. You and I have talked a lot lately, prayed together even.
Yeah.
It's been a thing. You and I, not so much. We've gotten to interact a bit through the whole thing, but I know it's been crazy. For the benefit of those who are listening, who are watching, who are going to see pieces of this, who are you and what do you do? Yeah.
So my name's Chris, and I'm the campus pastor at Sandals Church, San Bernardino.
Yeah. How many years have you been at that campus?
Well, Sandals Church, been there 5 years.
Yes.
But I have been on that campus since 1995.
Wow. So you've been there for a minute.
Yeah, been there a while. It was exciting. I was just on stage this last Sunday and talking about the fact that the two of our church members that are there, one was my Sunday school teacher, and one was my small group leader when I was in youth group.
Crazy.
And so, been there a long time. Graduated Pacific High School in San Bernardino in '98.
Yeah.
Was gone for a few years. I was off at college. Came back in 2007 as an associate pastor on that campus.
Yeah.
It was North Point Church at the time.
Yeah.
And then 2017 is when we merged with Sandals.
That's when the old model of Giving Tuesday, when we were raising fund. This is our 4th year of doing a Giving Tuesday fundraising effort through our ROGO Foundation, a separate 501c3 from Sandals Church. And for the last 3 years, we'd been raising money so that we could save a church that was in a difficult season and or on the road to closure. We would revitalize, relaunch it. That's what we were raising money for. And this year, everything changed. But before we get too much into it, Jose, why don't you give them a little insight into who you are and your connection to San Bernardino?
Yeah, my name is Jose Craig. I'm the youth lead at Sandals Church San Bernardino. Been on staff for about a year.
A little over a year.
Been part of Sandals. So I did raise up in the church. Started going to Sandals Youth Front Side at the time. Justin McVeigh and Marquise Cox was the youth pastor there. Started going at the age of 17. I think that's where I just fell in love with Jesus at Sandals. And then I brought my high school sweetheart, who's my wife now. We have 2 beautiful boys.
Congratulations.
And then after our second week of youth service, we prayed in my mom's kitchen saying God, could we have a family where we can make disciples in youth group? And I think that's just my burden for San Bernardino, that we can give them resources in such a way while they're folding laundry, they can hear the gospel and be like, man, could I change the generation of my family? And I think that's why I'm so drawn just to the urban church of bringing those resources that the gospel provides. So that's a big part of our story.
You got history, you got roots in San Bernardino, and you got a heart for the city.
Oh man, I'm loving the city and just knowing the city, knowing the culture. It's been a real privilege.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Such a baby.
I'm a grown
Ask him
man.
how long he's been married.
5 years.
5 years. How long you been married?
17.
Yeah, we're going on 19. So we got a little time on
young.
you.
Oh yeah.
But I wish at your age, I wish when I was your age, that I was so committed to the local church and had such a passion for leading others to the feet of of Jesus and helping them grow in relationship with Him. So that's awesome that you're doing that. But help me out here. So when did you have a vision for something to minister to the youth of San Bernardino? Let's not even call it a teen center, but when did you start to get a burden for, let's say, that demographic in that community?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is it goes back a long time. It goes back probably 10 years or so that we were thinking about something, but I didn't know what it would look like.
Sure.
It really kicked off about 3 years ago. About 3 years ago, Scott Wyatt, who's president of the school board in San Bernardino, 10 Sandals campus in San Bernardino, we were walking the campus and just going, what do the teens need? What do the students in this city need? And how can we use, we have 7 acres, how can we use 7 acres to impact the teens in the city? And I started out as a youth pastor in ministry. Like there's still, my heart is still there. Before this guy got to come on, I got to lead our youth for about 7 months on our campus. Like I enjoy that. And Scott started talking about some different programs that were happening. But the one that got my attention first was the laundry center. As he just said, well, our students don't have a place to do laundry. And I'll be honest, like that's not something that's ever crossed my mind. Like that, I don't think about those kinds of things.
I think most people don't think about that. Like a kid that goes to school is missing days of school because they're embarrassed because their clothes stink. They're not clean. Like, that sucks.
Yep. I was at a funeral. I'm sad at the funeral last week for a friend of mine I went to high school with. And tragic accident, but one of our friends got up to share at the funeral. And as he shared, he talked about being the stinky kid at school.
Wow.
And not being able to do, and I'm like sitting at this funeral going like, man, like that's like, and I knew this kid, we were in high school together, and I had no idea that his situation, like he couldn't have access to laundry.
Yeah.
To a
And
normal.
so it's like,
Isn't
yeah.
that wild? To a normal. Like I got piles of laundry. That's my norm, like my
Yeah,
normal.
absolutely.
And I'm like, man, I hate this normal. I think students want piles of laundry to wash clothes in. So.
And so just that reminder, like these students need it. So that began bigger conversation of like, man, we start a laundry center. That's great. What's next? And a place for them to hang out. What else do they need? They need counseling. What else do they need? They need tutoring. What else do they need? They need some recreation.
And all of this is conversation.
Just conversation. It's just
what do they need?
conversation.
What could it be?
Yep.
No rubber has hit the road yet, so to speak. You guys are just spitballing.
Yep.
What could we do? What are the needs?
Yep.
How could we do this thing?
Yep. And you know, Scott Wyatt's a public servant working for the school district. He doesn't have a pile of gold sitting around. You know, I'm pastor. We're trying to figure this thing out. Ministering in San Bernardino.
Yeah.
And so it was really about a year and a half later that we got to have a conversation with another church member who's Ken Ramirez. And Ken's the former chairman of San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and we were walking the campus. Yeah. And he just asked, he said, what's your vision?
Well, it's funny because you just think of the people that God has drawn to Sandals Church San Bernardino. Yeah. And the burden that he has given them. And he brings the three of you guys together to have this conversation. And all of you have a heart for the young people in that city. So the three of you start to talk.
Yeah. And as Ken and I were walking, he's asked, what's the vision? I began to share, and I began to talk about the teen center, and you could see an instant connection with that. And so Scott and Ken and I began to talk and to dream, and Scott has the connections in the community. For sure. Ken has the connection in the community and the resource to help us in the community. Yeah. And so all of a sudden it began to be a reality. But Sandals is part of a larger organization. Like San Bernardino campus doesn't just get to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So we started reaching out to some of our network team. Yeah. And going, is this even an option?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting for me. I was talking actually with Ken today, and I referenced a comment he had made to me earlier as he's been looking for ways to get more involved, feeling like God is calling him to be a part of things here, but he doesn't know what. And he said, I'm not the guy to reach out to when you need small things done, busy work done. Yep. His statement to me was, I'm the guy you call when you need to move a mountain. That's the type of stuff. And so this teen center would definitely be a mountain. Yeah. You know, and then you got Scott Wyatt, who obviously has high motor, high drive. Yep.
And a deep passion for the kids in our community. Like, man, when you hear him talk about the students in our community, like his heart breaks for them, his joy comes from them. Yeah. This man lives for the students in San Bernardino.
And the bits that I've gotten to see him speak, it's, I mean this as a definite compliment, hopefully it comes across this way, but he is not a typical politician that turns it on behind the mic. No, there is an authenticity and a burden when he speaks, and that definitely came through. And the same for Ken. So let's bump along down the road. Yeah. When do you start talking with Jose about this idea?
Yes, I think as I began having conversations with Ron McCoy, and then eventually with some conversations with Dan Zimbardi, and all of a sudden this started becoming like, this is going to happen. Like this might be a real idea.
So for those who don't know, Ron McCoy, one of our executives, oversees,
so he's my boss.
Foundation and multi-site, and then Dan Zimbardi, our executive pastor of Sandals Church.
Yeah, so the guy, he's kind of the final decision on all of this, and all of a sudden these conversations start happening. I was like, this isn't just conversation. Like, we're moving towards something else. Yeah. And so we began talking about it with the staff, began talking about it with Craig.
So you guys start talking about this. This is, what would you say, early to 2022?
Yeah, probably early. I mean, it's all happened pretty quickly from idea to it's moving. Yeah. So probably early 2022.
So you guys start talking, and what starts happening with you? You know, you're newer. You have a deep burden. Yeah. You see influential leaders in the community, and your campus pastor start to spitball an idea that starts to get some traction. What's going on with you?
I think the first thing is like, man, one is this spirit that I've been learning about San Bernardino, and even for this church, this real spirit of division. And when I'm hearing this idea, the question was, what if not just Sandals Church, but the whole city of San Bernardino rallied behind this?
Yeah.
So it was just casting the vision. Like, man, what could I do to cast the vision in our churches, in our parents, in our schools, for all of us to break that spirit so it can be the golden city? And it starts with our teens. Yeah. So right when I heard the idea, it was that burden of like, man, let's come together in unity and let the church be the model of that, of what Christ expects from us. Yeah. So that was the initial thought of like, man, we need to come together to bring the teens in, to serve them so they have a great experience in the process.
Yeah. So as all of this is happening, conversations being had, you realize that, hey, there's legs to this. We could actually strive to develop a laundry facility. That leads into, hey, we could actually make the laundry facility a part of a larger teen center. Wow. Yeah. You start to really process through what are the actual needs beyond clean clothes, personal hygiene resources, what else is needed in the community. We start getting to connect with some potential strategic partners that can offer mental, emotional, physical services to the young people in the community. They love the idea of using this teen center as a base of operations to offer regular programming, looking at all these different things that are needs that we can, with strategic partnerships, can meet. You know, we're not looking to recreate the wheel and create all of this programming. Rather, we're looking to really start to just make the connections, to facilitate it, to help take advantage of some of the great things that are available in the periphery, but bring them into the city, if I'm not mistaken, on the north end where they're desperately needed. And all the while, there's this conversation about what are we going to do with Giving Tuesday this year? Because the previous 3 years, it's been to save churches on the road to closure. You know, we do Anaheim, we do Santa Rosa, we do, I can't even think of where the other one was. Maybe it was Azusa, I think was the other one. So these local campuses, and all of a sudden there's this realization that, hey, we have something unique. It's different. Don't know how it'll land. But maybe this year, instead of raising funds for the next church we might adopt, what if we rally the church, rally the community, and see if we can cast vision and invite people in to help make the teen center a reality for the young people in San Bernardino. So I'll start with you. When you knew it was going to be the Giving Tuesday project, I like the smirk.
Yeah, it's crazy what happened. Yeah, it's crazy.
What was that like? And then what were you thinking as you think about how are we going to do this? What's my role in this? Yeah. What was that like?
Man, I don't know. Like the how was like, man, this is a burden. Like this is a burden, and in that burden, like it's so heavy. We all need to hold it. We all need to grasp it. You were saying, man, like the last 3 years we used Giving Tuesday to save the church. I think building a teen center is saving the church. This is part of it. Yeah. The teen center, I believe, is going to build church leaders, our city leaders, entrepreneurs, fathers, mothers. That's where it starts in the home. Sure. And I think that's the burden that I felt. Yeah. The church we're carrying this through the teens of San Bernardino. So my role in that, man, let's help people carry this table. Yeah. So we can unfold it and make a beautiful dinner out of it. Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. Being a part of Sandals Church, growing, thriving organization, there's lots of conversations. And so there's lots of discussions. And Dan Zimbardi and I sat in his office for an hour, just talked about a teen center, dreamt about it. Chris, you've been talking about this. What do you see? Yeah. And we sat and we dreamed together and we talked. And I honestly walked out of there going, that was fun, but it's Sandals. Like, who knows if anything's going to even come from this? How do we even resource this? And I think it was about 2 weeks later, maybe a week and a half later, he just called me out of the blue. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I have an idea. What would you think if we use the teen center for this year's Giving Tuesday? Yeah. Goodness. I mean, and we're probably talking maybe July. I mean, like, it's coming in November. I think my heart skipped a beat a little bit. Sure. Because I'm like, I know what we've done at the past Giving Tuesdays. Yeah. And this takes this from some little project we're doing of like, hey, maybe we'll just do a little side thing to like, this is a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, sounds great. Like, I would love to do that. Sure. Sounds wonderful. Yeah. And again, at that point, just an idea. Now, Dan Zimbardi throws out an idea. It's a pretty solid idea. Yeah. Sure. Got off the phone, called my wife. I'm like, hon, listen, like, you're not going to believe this. Like, this is what they're talking about. This little crazy idea we've been talking about. Yeah. is getting ready to become something bigger.
Yeah.
And then Giving Tuesday, I mean, we haven't got there yet, but like it's bigger than I even could have imagined.
Yeah.
And so I think not being a part of Sandals for so long, as a small church, struggling, trying to figure it out, to have all of Sandals Church, 13 campuses, online, come together to make a difference in San Bernardino, I didn't feel alone. Like, I didn't feel like we were fighting this battle on our own. And for the last 5 years, I haven't. Like, Sandals has come alongside us and behind us. And there's just amazing joy and strength in that partnership. But man, when I heard that this was going to become Giving Tuesday, and then from there it was like little bits of information would come across. I don't think I ever had anybody like, hey, Chris, this is what's happening. It was all of a sudden I was like getting invited to meetings, and I'm like, oh, like this is for real. Like,
and then we have cameras in our
like
faces.
there was like there wasn't
like,
my buddy always talks about like, when's the parade? Like there was no parade. Like it was just like this slow trickle of like meetings popping up on my calendar. Where at some point, like the third meeting in, I'm like, this isn't a discussion anymore. Like this was a decision, and we're going all in on this thing.
And to your point about, you know, the decision's been made and we're going all in, you know, the reality is everybody at the appropriate time kind of got their directives and spun up the machine. And started pulling in their teams and staying in their lane and working on their part. And one thing that is stood out to me was this was not an overnight success. Like, hey, we're a little church in this community. We're in our little bubble, you know, our holy huddle. We've been focused on ourselves, and we might do a little occasional outreach. And now we're going to try to do this really big thing. And we had an amazing marketing, you know, strategy, and it worked. The reality is, for decades, you and those who've been a part of your various teams in that community have fought tooth and nail to connect with and grow in relationship with influential leaders in your community. And I would say for such a time as this.
It is one I've really had for, you know, coming up on 15 years being back in San Bernardino as a pastor. I've really had a policy for me of I'm going to say yes to the community as often as I can. And so I get a call from the school district. Can we host this on your campus? Yes. From the councilman, can I host a meeting on your campus? Yes. Now, no political meetings, no political campaigns, but like, man, you want to do a community gathering? Yes. Can we do a food giveaway? Yes. Hey, we're doing a park cleanup. Can you send volunteers? Yes. And so I think that really just set us up for like, our heart is for San Bernardino. I've met with mayors, with council members. Like,
how'd you meet Ken?
So that happened after, I mean, sadly, the tragedy of the riots and the struggles in San Bernardino a couple of years ago, after George Floyd's murder, that all the people took to the streets, and there was a mess. And so we got on our text messages and our social media to our church and said, our city needs help. Can we respond? And within about an hour, we had a couple hundred people downtown San Bernardino with shovels and brooms ready to go. Well, Ken and I have a mutual friend named Robert Porter. And Robert had been trying to kind of connect us, and you both have a heart for the city. You guys need to meet. And so Robert saw our social media about being down there and grabbed Ken and brought Ken down.
It wasn't you knowing who Ken is and you weren't looking for the influential person and pursuing him. You were caring for, loving on your city, ministering to those in need. And in your servant approach, the Lord allowed you to connect with, and then you had the opportunity to grow in relationship with somebody who now has proved to be a very critical component in the overall success and strategy of this. So your hard work in the community, has paid off in that we didn't just have a bunch of great marketing and advertising. We did that saturated the San Bernardino region, but also where all of our campuses are, it was to our people. But you guys were able to invite in people of peace who could open doors for us with the city, with the county, with local business, with other nonprofits. And I think the Lord saw that and chose once again to pour out a huge blessing.
But it's those seeds that we planted over decades. I mean, my dad was pastor there before I was. So the Reinhard name, like people knew him. People knew, and one of our council members who's been really involved, Damon Alexander, was friends with my dad. And so like just that even generational pouring into the community.
Yeah.
You know, Gwen Rogers is a school board member. She's now with the County Board of Education.
Yeah.
We're on the chaplains together for the police department.
Yeah.
And we've developed relationship, and she's one that is helping us make connections at the state level. Kimberly Calvin's a friend of hers. She connected us to Councilmember Calvin.
Yeah.
And so all of these connections, but it's really just been from I want to love this city. Ken actually pulled me aside one day and he's like, all right, Chris, I need to know how I can help you. Like, because I'm like, that's not me. Like, it's not me. Like, how can I serve you? Like, I'm your pastor. How can I care for you? How can I love you? And he's like, okay, I have some connections. Can we work on some stuff together?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And so just continually pouring into San Bernardino and being faithful and watching God open the doors has been cool.
And you talking about being faithful, man. Like you showed me a picture of quarters of a young woman. How old was she again?
13.
13. So our youth had this
bag of
14, the bag of quarters.
That made it to me on Sunday.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a bag of quarters say, yo, like I want to invest in Giving Tuesday. Like I was just proud to be like, man, I'm part of this city where 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds are like, yo, I'll give my 15, my
chore
20,
money.
my chore money,
Yeah.
like whatever money that I have, I'm going to give. And I just really like just see like God looking at us like, man, like we can trust you with this. We can trust 15 years, the $15. So it was just cool to see that.
Yeah, I mean, this year we had more unique donors than ever before. We had last count 834 unique donors. Last count $796,511.14. Was raised through Giving Tuesday.
You know, it's funny, the big gifts, like I appreciate the big gifts and I'm thankful for all the big gifts.
Yeah.
The ones that got me excited was the Give 5 campaign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we invited our teens and our young adults to like, hey, we know you don't have $100,000 sitting in the bank.
Sure.
Can you just give 5?
Yeah.
Just be a part of it. That got me really excited.
You know,
because I love inviting people. Like I'm not somebody who does anything alone.
Sure.
Like I'm dragging everybody along. And so to make an easy on-ramp to like, can you just give 5?
Yeah.
And for them to say yes to that, like I loved that.
And really, you know, to zero in on that, we had 834 donors. So think about that. We only had a handful of large gifts. We had a ton of people give anywhere from $5 on up to a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that made all the difference. You were talking about the table and coming along and everybody holding it. Previous ministry relationship I had, a friend of mine would always say, many hands in ministry make the burden light, make the load light. Many hands make the load light. And it was talking about building a big team and this, you know, having so many people come alongside and to know that not only did we raise money for phase 1, which was $500,000, that we have almost completely funded phase 2, which would have put it at $820,000, and we're just a few $1,000s shy of
somebody's
going to
fix that. Somebody's just going to
potentially from your lips to God's ears.
Right.
But being on this side of it, seeing, you know, the laundry facility, we're moving on that, shovels in the ground.
Yep.
We're full steam ahead with starting on the larger phase 1 and phase 2. Thinking 3 years down the road as we wrap things up, what are your hopes? What would people be saying about the Teen Center? What are you hoping is happening 3 years from now?
3 years from now, we're going to be fully up and running all day long, every weekend, and it's just going to be a place where kids can come and get resourced and taken care of and have some fun and make some connections. And I see 3 years from now, people talking about if you want to get better, if you want to go farther, spend time at the Hill. If you want to be around people that are for you and love you and care about you and want to see you succeed, spend time at the Hill. If you're headed on the wrong track and you need to get back on the right track, spend time at the Hill. Like I see our teachers, our educators, our police officers, our fire department, like going, if your teen's not there, they're missing out. And to just create that space where they can go, as well as for the teens, just, hey, if you want to have a good time, let's go to the Hill. It's a safe place where we can go, have some fun, hang out, get to know some people, and hopefully get resources that they need as well. And so I see it bustling with kids. Like I see kids everywhere, adults that love kids hanging out, and like grumpy, like get off your lawn guy, he's not allowed. Like we just people that love kids. And I was talking with one of our community members last week, and I said, you know, teenagers, how many of our teenagers have an adult that'll just sit and listen to them? don't. Mom's busy, dad's busy, teachers are busy, everybody's overworked, and to have a place where you could come and, man, you're doing a load of laundry and there's a volunteer there to help you get the stains out, figure out how to get the ketchup stain out of your shirt that you have no idea how to do, and then to just listen to you, talk about whatever's on your mind. That's my heart for it.
That's good. I think, man, a big one, so like freshmen, sophomores now, 3 years, they graduate from high school and they're like, you know what, I want to stay in San Bernardino. I don't want to get out. I want to stay in San Bernardino to that foot point of like, man, like, this is great. This is my city. I'm not moving to Riverside. I'm not going to another state. I'm staying in San Bernardino. Why? Because it's good and I'm valued. I'm loved here. I don't want to be loved anywhere else. So I want to give back here. I see that in the next 3 years, and that's going to change the generations, our fathers, our mothers, our entrepreneurs. Like, it's going to change San Bernardino because our teens are going to feel valued in San Bernardino.
And that's huge. That my entire friend circle from high school lives in Yucaipa, Banning, and Beaumont. Like, there's none of them that live in San Bernardino.
They've all moved
anymore.
out.
And they've all moved out. And sadly, for a long time, San Bernardino's been a move out of place, not a move to place. You know, you come there because you have to, because the rent's cheap, or a job opened up somewhere. Most time it's the rent's cheap or the housing is cheap. And then as soon as you get on your feet, man, you're gonna head out, or maybe head into, you know, north end of town or some way north end of town or something. But just there's that sense of I want to get out, and so to have students that are like, man, this is my place, and I think we're starting to see a shift in the city already. Where there's a little bit more pride, and especially with our younger generation, but to help them have that. And I love you made a comment at one point, like the students that attend the Hill today are going to be the students that are donating to buy Cajon High School's jerseys in the future. And I'm like, I love that. Like, let's teach them to give back, and that'll be part of the Hill. Is when the students come, you're a part of this, and so there'll be some responsibility that comes with it. Whether that's helping in the garden or helping clean up. There's going to be a sense of you're part of something. You're not just frequenting a place, and that's our heart, is you be a part of it.
So for people who want to learn more about what's going on, the status of the project, what's happening there, to get updates, where can they go to find out more?
So website, rogofoundation.com/teen center. I think that'd be the primary spot. You can go on there, and there's all kinds of information. There's an opportunity for text updates. And I'll continue to be shooting out text updates about once a week. And so that's the Hill TC to 77411.
Cool.
And so that's just an easy way to get updates and information on what's happening through the website, through the text updates.
Well, Pastor Chris, thank you for the time and the effort that you have put into this. I know you've poured a lot of time and effort into this, and the Lord has blessed that. But thank you for all that you've done. Jose, same to you, man. I know you've worked your tail off, casting vision, inviting people in, doing all the things behind the scenes that need to be done to help get the story out. So thanks for the role that you played in this as well.
Thank you.